it was one appointment. I'm going to pay you on one dealer. And he was making obscene amount of money. And I said, you got to be joking, right? And he goes, no, I'm not joking. And I'll never forget because my wife is there when he called me and said this. And she grabs the phone. She hung up on it. And she looked at me and she goes, you're done. I know you're done. I know you're 110% done, but you ain't done because we were spending money as fast as I was making it, right? Sales made me who I was today, right? Sales is the most pivotal part of being successful, right? Is sales, marketing, and advertising. If you can turn yourself from a good salesperson into an entrepreneur, it's there. It is there. It's the right thing. And we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of things. So I don't come from having money. I don't come from having wealth. And the most important thing for me in life was be successful so that I could help my mom. That was the number one driver for me, was to help my mom. You take everything away from me tomorrow, and I'm talking everything. You put me out on the street and I got nothing, right? And I got nothing. Oh, you ship me anywhere in this country. You put me on a plane and you drop me off in any city. I'll walk onto a car dealership and I'll start selling cars. I will, and I'll get it all back. You're going to fail. You're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. You're going to tremendously fail more than you're going to succeed. More times than you know what it could even imagine. But all it takes is that one successful time and boom, you got it. Dude, you only live one life. Like, that's it. You live one life. Like, you could die tomorrow, right? And you got to decide for yourself, but that's what holds people back, right? Is the ability to just figure out what makes you happy in this world and go after it.
Welcome back, everyone, to Rep2Owner. Today, I've got someone that has achieved the freedom that sales will never give you. Roy Kirchner started off in car sales, worked his way up, and then built his own business so he could own the outcomes, how much money he makes, how much time he controls, and the level of impact that he creates. He's the CEO of Ultimate 3D Printing Store, a multi-year Titan 100 honoree, and the builder behind one of Florida's fastest growing companies, recognized by the Tampa Bay Business Journal, Grow Florida, and manufacturing leaders across the state. He's also a board member, a mentor of the year at USF, and someone who's used business as a platform to create real community impact here in Tampa Bay and beyond. If you're ready to turn what you're good at in sales into true freedom, this episode's for you.
Manager for the Honda store. And he goes, Roy, and he goes, what are you doing with your life? And I said, I'm over at a pizzeria. He's like, man, why don't you come sell cars? He's like, I'll put you through training, take you under my wing a little bit, and we'll get you into the car business. And he goes, you'll work just as many hours as you do at the restaurant, but you'll make more money. And that was the start of getting into the car business.
I love it. And how old were you at the time?
I was 18 years old, man.
18,
yeah,
okay.
Just graduated high school. Ended up graduating with a 4th grade reading level. So
Wow.
Wasn't a spectacular at school in any way, shape, or form.
Look where you are now.
A little bit different.
Oh, I love it. So you initially got into sales more for obviously like the money like aspect of it, like earn more, but then more the mentorship, it sounds like.
Yeah. So I mean, what I didn't realize is getting into the car business, I failed tremendously at the first dealership. I was there for 2 months. I was the first in, last to leave, but I only sold one car. And they said, man, we've never seen somebody more dedicated, but you ain't selling cars, so we got to let you go. I ended up really considering it, let me try this one more time. I knew that there was a lot of successful people in the dealership world, and selling cars, you can make good money. And that was really my hope, right? Because when you get out of high school, you got no direction, especially when you get out of high school and you're not good in high school, right? And people tell you that you good luck. You'll probably be in a restaurant position the rest of your life, right? And you won't be able to amount to anything. You weren't good academically. And so I turned around and went to another dealership. And lo and behold, I went through training. Believe it or not, there's a guy named Grant Cardone that a lot of people know. Ended up getting trained by him as well, and then started in the car business. And when I started, I was lucky enough, and I say lucky enough, I was lucky enough to start in the pre-owned department. Why is there a difference between new cars and pre-owned? A lot more people at that time would come in and drive new cars, but they wouldn't buy. So it was always the place for what you call a green pea, somebody that's brand new in the car business. A green pea always went to new cars first because you talk to more people and you learn how to sell, right? Because selling is just, you're not born as a natural salesperson. You learn and adapt to become a salesperson. And when I ended up talked my way into the used car side of the business, they were only hiring 2 people and they were hiring 18 for new. And I was one of the 2, and ended up getting into the used car building and started working there. And what I realized over a short period of time, and it was kind of a short period of time, I realized that I wasn't selling cars, right? Somebody came in to buy a car in the morning, and I sold him a car, and he goes, "Roy, I hate car salesmen. They're horrible. They're always like, you just always think of it, and especially a used car guy, as this dirty car salesman, right? That's gonna rip you off." And I would have a great relationship with somebody to the point where I ended up selling him a car, and he owned a dry cleaning store. And next thing you know, he says, "Roy, thank you for taking such good care of me. I'm going to give you 6 months free dry cleaning," right? And then a couple hours later, a guy comes in and he has an air conditioning business. I end up selling him a car. Says the same thing. He's like, "Dude, you just made this like so pleasant to buy a car, and you're such a great guy. Save my number. If you get your air conditioning goes down and it's hot in Florida, give me a call. I'll come in and I'll fix it for you." Right. A couple hours later, a guy comes in, same day, 3 cars in one day, but same guy comes in and he owns a restaurant. I end up selling him a car, and he says, "Listen, man, you took such good care of me." He's like, "You got a hot date? Bring her in. She'll think you're in the mafia," right? He's like, "I'll definitely roll out the carpet. You'll get lucky that night because she'll think, like, who is this guy," right? And what I realized in a short period of time is when people come in to buy a car, you learn about who they are. You learn about, especially when they fill out an application, you see where they live, right? And you see how long they've lived there. You see how much they pay for their mortgage. You see where they work, how long they've worked there, and how much money they make, right? So when I found super successful people coming in to buy a car, I just said, if it was John, I said, "John, can you do me a favor? I'm selling you a car today." And he goes, "Absolutely, Roy. What can I do for you?" And I said, "Could you pretend like I'm your kid?" And he goes, "What?" He goes, "Can I pretend like I'm your kid?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Listen, man, you're making insane money. You're super successful. And one day I want to be that. So the best thing for me is on my day off, what I'd love to do is come into your work, and I would love to shadow you, because one day I want to be as successful as you. So can I come in and can I learn from you for a day? And who knows, maybe you'll end up adopting me, right? You may like me not that much, right? And next thing you know, you have a way when you're ambitious, right? And people see that if you got good people around you, especially the people that have made it. And I found people that had made it that realized how ambitious I was, and they took me under their wing and said, "Yeah, I'll help you. I'll mentor you." And at that point in time, you realize that the sky's the limit. You just got to put the time, effort, consideration in, and in motivation in. And I stayed in the car business, but I was, 65 salespeople. I was number 2 in the store, So, I mean, at 18 years old, you're making, really good money, right? And it's the ability at that point in time. The most important thing for me is because I grew up, we really didn't have a lot. Like I wasn't a lucky sperm. I didn't pop out of my parents and have all this wealth, right? My mom and my dad, especially my mom raised me and my sister, and we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of things. So I don't come from having money. I don't come from having wealth. And the most important thing for me in life was be successful so that I could help my mom. That was the number one driver for me, was to help my mom, right? And it was a great driver because at a certain point in time when you're younger, you realize how much time and how hard your parents are truly working to provide you a great life. And when you recognize that, you want to try to give back. And that was my motivator to be successful, right? And no matter what came in my way in the car business it wasn't sunshine and rainbows. This is not an easy industry to be in, right? When people buy cars, they mostly buy cars on nights and weekends. So you're working when everybody else is off, right? You don't get a lot of time off to enjoy life, because when people are enjoying life, that's when they're buying cars. So it's your time off is non-hours, right? Like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 is when you're getting a day off. You're definitely not getting a night or a weekend off. That's when you're making your money, right? And so you realize, I realized over time that I grew in the auto industry. I ended up becoming a finance manager, but then realized through, I guess you would say, an acquisition of a dealership, realized that there was opportunity to move on from the car business. And I got into marketing and advertising. And I think the biggest change was I was lucky enough to, when I went into marketing and advertising, I didn't realize how it was marketing and advertising for automotive car dealers. And really the guy wanted me because I understood the car business inside and out, up and down. And I told him a number that was extremely high, and he said yes. He wanted to have me. But what was more shocking was this next thing that came out of his mouth was, you're going to be working 9 to 6 Monday through Friday. And I think my first weekend off out of the car business, I had no idea what to do with myself. Right? It was like a shock to me that you're making great money and you have nights and weekends off. Right? And that was probably the biggest thing, that you got the mixture of being able to live life a little bit and have money.
Yeah. So your mission, vision, and purpose throughout this whole process was really just go through and live a life that you're able to go through, not just like provide for your family and your mom, but live in abundance. I guess talk to me a little bit about stepping into that marketing role. Like, what was the whole thought process there of like getting into that? Was that to have more time and freedom? Was that to learn more skills?
It was still an interesting thing. Yeah. We had, I was helping a auto group. They were purchasing a Chrysler Dodge Jeep store, and we were overseeing the buy, and we had to sell off all the pre-owned inventory in order for the buy sell to happen. And unfortunately, the previous owner had put too much money into the pre-owned vehicles. Like, he owned them for more money than he should have. So we hired this marketing and advertising agency to help us promote the used cars, to sell them off the lot so the buy sell could happen. And we ended up seeing this buy sell happen, right? And we ended up finishing that. A friend of mine had purchased a Chevy dealership in Atlanta, and he said, Roy, I would love you to come up to Atlanta and help me get this dealership started. And when I did sit down with him and talk to him about it, it was a good offer, but the difference is it was in Atlanta. I didn't know anybody, right? And again, you work a lot of hours in the car business. So I don't know anybody, and I'm going to be working a lot of hours. The pay was good, but he's giving me a place to live, giving me a car, setting me up. But it necessarily wasn't the choice I wanted to do, but I decided and I said, yes, I'm going to go ahead and go to Atlanta. I was 2 hours outside Tampa, and the owner of the marketing and advertising agency that helped us advertise the cars to sell off says, Roy, what are you doing? He's like, I heard you finished overseeing the buy. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm on my way to Atlanta. I'm going to help open this Chevy dealership. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, no, you're not going to Atlanta. I said, what do you mean? I'm going to Atlanta. I'm on my way there. And he goes, no, man, you got to turn around and you got to come in and you got to sit down and you got to talk to me. And I said, there's no way. I'm on my way to Atlanta. And he convinced me over talking to me for over an hour. I ended up turning around, going and sleeping on my mom's couch. And the next morning, I had shorts and a t-shirt on. I walked into his office and I'm like, why you like, you're making me late to Atlanta. And he's like, calm down. And he walked me through. They had dealerships. They had hundreds and hundreds of car dealerships that were doing marketing and advertising for. And he walked me through kind of basically the entire facility, right? And all the different teams, all the different departments. And he said, the most important thing is he's like, we service the car industry, but we don't necessarily have people that worked in the car business and don't understand every aspect. And we'd love to have you come in and be able to help us understand that. And so I'm sitting there and I threw out double what I was going to make in Atlanta. And he ended up saying yes. And I said, okay, I'm not going to Atlanta. And next thing you know, I started working there. And I worked there, what you call until the Great Recession of '08. So when the Great Recession of '08 hit the United States of America, we had hundreds and hundreds of car dealers on a program with us. And the way that a car dealership canceled was either a written cancellation in the mail, or back in the day, they faxed us. And when '08 hit, we got 40 a day every single day. So it it just crushed. So at that point in time, it was kind of figure out what's next, right? What's next in my life. But we knew that was going to be like, it hit the whole country. And the biggest industries it hit was mortgage and the car industry. So both of those were hurt and down.
That's crazy. And where did you go transfer from there into?
There, I found the only thing that was 100% making money. And what it was the mortgage industry with a particular program called reverse mortgages. And reverse mortgages was making great money. And I realized I come to find out that somebody had invented the world's first flexible DVD. And this flexible DVD would play in a DVD player, but it was also flexible where I could ship it out in a direct mail piece for the same price as a regular piece of mail. And I created an infomercial for reverse mortgages. And I used to send this out to people that would basically watch the reverse mortgage infomercial and call in and create a lead for mortgage brokers. And I was very successful at it. And the way that I got the mortgage brokers to buy this direct mail from me is I fax blasted every single one of them saying I had the world's first flexible DVD infomercial that we could send out to a direct mail list. And the first thing he would do is call me and be like, what are you talking about? Let me see this thing. And I would overnight it to them. And next thing you know, they would buy it. And I was really successful. I saw the car industry coming back. And I ended up getting a business partner. We ended up writing a business plan, sought out investors.
So this was your first venture and business that you went through and started.
Yeah, this was my first
official one.
Marketing and advertising agency. And we ended up working out, getting investors, and opened my first marketing and advertising agency at that point in time. So that was my first real step into entrepreneurship. Yes.
And how did you going through and finding that partner look like when you were making that transition? And did you already know them?
Yeah, I knew him from the agency before. So it was one of the partners of the company I worked for before. That's so that was pretty simple at that point in time. But then the investors that we ended up getting, the investor that we ended up getting wasn't necessarily the right investor at that point in time in my life. So that was a little bit of a hurdle to jump through. Yeah. Ended up getting away from him, and ended up basically kind of transitioning from that company back to working for somebody. I went to work for another agency, and I was their director of business development. So, and it was one of the largest agencies in automotive at that point in time.
So I guess for you, from going and running this venture to shifting back to that, what was the logic shifting back to like working for someone instead of like your own venture?
I was broke.
Yeah.
I was broke. Yeah. The highlight of my life was watching a Redbox movie for 99 cents. I had spent every dime I had basically on the business and ended up basically kind of losing everything. So, and went to work at that point in time for this marketing and advertising agency.
Yeah. For that first venture, if you were to go back and do it again, if you had changed like a couple of things, you feel like it would have turned out differently, or you would have scaled down, kept going there?
Hindsight's always 2020. You can look in the
sure.
past and you can see. So there's always things.
100%.
There's always things. I think, yeah, I mean, some of them you can't foresee. You can't foresee sometimes with partners and different things like that, who they are and how their work ethic is and what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, right? And different things like that. And then basically, yeah, I mean, just different things within that, I guess is what I would say to you.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you had to break it down to a specific lesson that your previous self, like you wish you would have known, like what would that have been during that time?
I think the most important thing at that point in time is did better background check on the investor.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he ended up, he was running a $32 million, he's part of a $32 million Ponzi scheme.
Wow.
So that wasn't good,
Yeah,
right? He was 49% owner in the company I had, and now that 49% is owned by a receivership, which is basically the federal government. You don't want to be in business with the federal government. So the most important thing was getting out of that business, which took a lot of time, a lot of effort, because we had took money from this investor, and I had to hire a forensic accountant to account for every dime and dollar to make sure we accurately spent the money, and there was no liability on us. And ended up clearing and was fine, but then got out of that business. But my business partner knew I was going to clear, so he just walked away and left it all to me. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I ended up spending all my savings, ended up making sure I cleared my name, which I had no wrongdoing in any way, shape, or form, but had to hire a forensic accountant and spend every dollar I had, got cleared, and then went to work for this marketing and advertising agency.
And how old were you at this time?
In mid-20s.
Mid-20s?
Yeah.
Okay. So we went through and then started working for another marketing agency. And how long were you there for?
There I was, they had 17 dealerships in the United States that were doing marketing and advertising for, but they had the number one Hyundai store in America. And what I realized is they had a great resume. So I went and became their director of business development, called on owners and general managers to have a meeting with my president and vice president. And when I would get them a meeting, we had an 83% closing ratio. In 1 year, we went to over 100 dealers, over 100.
That's pretty unheard of.
And I was making really good money. Thought I would be at that company at that point in time, man. It was so good and everything was so great that I thought I'd be there forever, right? And the owner made a enormous, gigantic mistake. And I ended up calling on a gentleman that had 12 dealerships underneath him, 12 automotive dealerships in New Jersey. And I was calling on him to have a meeting with my president and vice president. And this gentleman had 12 dealerships. So I hit him land, sea, and air, a military attack. I called him every single day and left a voicemail. I emailed him every single day. I wrote him a written letter in the mail every single day. And I fax blasted him every single day for 6 months. And on a Sunday, Paul called me and said, "Do you know who this is?" And I said, "I absolutely know who you are." And he said, "Have your president and vice president come into my office on Tuesday morning." And I called them. Everybody was ecstatic. They walked in and he had all the letters in the conference room on one side of the table and he had all the faxes on the other. And the first thing he said is, who in the fucking hell is Roy Kirchner? Because he is the most persistent son of a bitch I've ever met in my entire life. If you guys as an agency work anywhere near as hard as he did to get you the meeting, you'll be my agency for life, because I've never met a more persistent guy, right? And next thing you know, they started talking about who they are. And he's like, no, I already know who you are. I already know what dealerships you work with. You're my agency. So at that point in time, we just closed a gigantic automotive group. And I'll never forget the owner. I got paid on every dealership we got. And the owner of the company calls me. And this is what turned me to entrepreneurship. And he calls me and he says, it was one appointment. I'm going to pay you on one dealer. And he was making obscene amount of money. And I said, you got to be joking, right? And he goes, no, I'm not joking. And I'll never forget, because my wife is there when he called me and said this. And she grabs the phone and she hung up on him. And she looked at me and she goes, you're done. I know you're done. I know you're 110% done, but you ain't done, because we were spending money as fast as I was making it, right? She goes, plan your exit. Plan your exit. And I planned my exit and I put it, I knew I was going to leave. I knew I was going to leave that second, but I planned my exit and then I exited and I created another agency and was extremely successful. Created my own agency. Ended up having a partner, but created a super successful agency. So that was the transition. But that, till this day, he knows that was the biggest mistake he ever made. He knew he would never find somebody as good as I was.
Have you talked to him since then?
One time, and he 100% basically admitted that he made the biggest mistake. I talked to other people in the company. I actually just got a call from one of them. He says, Roy, dude, you're like a legend, right? Because I would not let somebody go. Like, that's the biggest thing, is understanding persistence pays off, right? That's the biggest thing. And I was so persistent. And all you got to do, man, is I would get an owner or general manager on the phone. Finally, I would get them on after like leaving them voicemail, right? Or, email or letters or faxes, right? And I said, listen, give me 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes to tell you this information. Yeah, at the end of the 5 minutes, if you don't like, we'll just part as friends and I'll leave you alone. I'll never, ever call you again. I'll never email you again. I'll never fax you again. But if you don't give me 5 minutes, dude, I'm going to continue. And he's like, all right. And then at the end of the 5 minutes, man, boom, he's like, all right, let's set up an appointment. And that was it, man. Because you got to, but it was, the car guys are not easy guys to get into, right? It's like the big industry that they don't want to talk to you. But it did help that I was from the car business. So I knew their lingo, right? Because I was from the business. But the most important thing was being persistent, right? And then having the true resume, which we had. We knew what we were doing. We were great at it. And then them seeing that, right? And witnessing who we had and how good we were. And boom, they did business with us.
Yeah. If you were to do it all again, do you wish you would have started your own agency earlier?
No way.
Or
no way.
It played out the way it did?
No, it had to play out the way it was, because when you're working for somebody, right? When I was working at the other agency and I was working at this agency, I took people that had a nice car and put them in a Bentley. I took them from a house to a mansion, right? I made them super successful. But I learned along the way, they pay me really good money, but at the end of the day, it's their business, it's their people. And I finally said, I'm going to do it for myself, right? I'm 100% stop making them wealthy, right? And I'm going to make myself wealthy. But I needed that lesson. I needed to learn, one, that I was good enough, right? And two, that bottom line, right? When I did it, I was never going to disrespect somebody. So that's the difference, man, as I have integrity, moral values, honor, respect. I said, I never want to feel the way that guy made me feel, because he messed up, right? And dude, that's his bad, right? Because I could still be there to this day, right? And we could be the biggest agency in the freaking United States, in the world, whatever you want to call it. But he made that mistake, and everything's for a reason. Everything's for a reason. So Yeah, and at that point in time, it's a lot different. I mean, from being a director of business development to running an agency and being an owner is a very different role, right? It's completely different, right? So it changes who you are, but it gave me the ambition to push myself to the next level.
Yeah. Is there anything specifically you wish you had known more in advance before you like took that next step into owning like a business?
That you're going to get kicked in the fucking teeth more times than you know. Like 100%. Like shit ain't sunshine and rainbows. It ain't no social media like it is nowadays saying, like this beautiful, perfect world, right? Like that's the thing. It's time, effort, dedication, grit, resilience. And you just take out of your freaking vocabulary the word quit. It does not exist, right? And you just push to the next level. But it's not what they don't call us 1%ers for no reason, right? Like you got to put in the effort, right? You got to put in the time. So, yeah.
How do you feel like your vision has changed for your life since when you were in sales to where you're at now?
Sales made me who I was today, right? I mean, sales is the most pivotal part of being successful, right? Is sales, marketing, and advertising. If you can turn yourself from a good salesperson into an entrepreneur, it's there. It is there. It's the right thing, right? Because entrepreneurs that become entrepreneurs that don't first have the background of marketing, advertising, or sales struggle more. Like, oh, let me find somebody that can do that. No. Like, that is the first thing, right? They always say it best, man. You can have the best restaurant in the world, but if you can't get people to come in to taste the food, you're never going to survive, right? And that is 100% of the truth. So the background of sales, marketing, and advertising is the most thing. In sales, you have to remember the thing that made me strong, right? Until this day, right? I'm a little bit older now, but let me put it to you this way. You take everything away from me tomorrow, and I'm talking everything. You put me out on the street and I got nothing, right? And I got nothing. Oh, you ship me anywhere in this country. You put me on a plane and you drop me off in any city. I'll walk onto a car dealership and I'll start selling cars. I will. And I'll get it all back. I'll get it all back, right? I know no matter what, when I knew how to sell cars and make money, I could always do it. So no matter if like it just gave me that risk it, right? Because entrepreneurship is risking. But I knew no matter what, and that's the thing about entrepreneurship, right? That is the number one key. You're going to fail. You're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. You're going to tremendously fail more than you're going to succeed. You're going to get your freaking mouth kicked in, right? More times than you know what it could even imagine. But all it takes is that one successful time and boom, you got it, right? But you have to be able to risk, right? You have to be able to risk, right? In order to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of people aren't willing to risk, right? And the number one thing, and people always ask me this, right, is a motivator that is very hard within life. If you're young and you connect with a woman, there's one thing a woman wants in this world. And the number one thing she wants is security. Security is the number one thing. Security is not entrepreneurship. Okay. So it's a lot of people that are younger, I tell them, listen, it's going to be that fight, right? Because their number one thing is security. And entrepreneurship is not security. As you get more into a seasoned entrepreneur, you try to make more calculated risk, but it's still risking, right? And then you got to find the right one that can handle that risk. Now, I've been married 14 years. I found my soulmate. I found the person that made me into who I am today. I want to be where I'm at because she's the most important thing in my life, but she's the person that backs me up no matter what. See, that's the thing that people don't realize, right, is to be successful, right? The number one thing to be successful is you can count on your hand almost any time in your life. Anytime in your life, you can count on your hand the people that are truly there for you, right? The people that are truly there. Like if the world was ending and you need them to jump on a plane and come help you, right? Who are those people going to be, right? Those people are going to be probably your family, like your mom and dad, right? Maybe a close friend, right? For me, like my wife, because I'm married, right? But that's the thing is that's what matters is those people on your hand, right? And me and you could sit here. We could sit here and we could make a plan, a pack, right? Me and you to go out for an entire year and try to meet somebody that we could add to our hand or add to, because you can count them typically on both your hands or one hand. And we could go out and we could try to meet somebody that we could add. And you know what? It's probably not going to happen. It's not going to happen, right? Because people have their lives. People have to care about themselves, right? There's many people that become. So as you get older, you kind of realize these things, right? That there's only a certain amount of people that have your back. And that's a huge, gigantic thing to realize at any point in time, but probably when you're younger, right? And the reason why I say realize it when you're younger, right, is because you can think this way. You can think the way I'm about to say. I don't care what anybody thinks of me, right? I don't care, right? Because I know I have integrity. I know I have moral values. I know I have honor. I know I have respect. I know I'm a good person. That gives me a superpower to be me because I don't care what other people think of me. Most people care about what people think of them. And it is a dilemma in them progressing in business and in life because they're always worried about what somebody else thinks. I don't care what somebody else thinks, right? I care about me knowing I'm a good person and I'm not going to please everybody, right? And even in entrepreneurship, your parents, your 100% parents may say, like, I don't want you doing that. They want you doing that because of security. Not because they don't believe in you, but because of security. And then they're amazed when you actually become successful, right? They know you could do it, but they always have this gut because they're your mom and dad, right? They always have this. So it's a different way of them saying it, right? And then, like I said, your wife, it's a different world. It's 100% different world. If you're young and you get married, it's all about security. So being an entrepreneur, like that's going to cause a lot of conflict. That's going to cause a lot of conflict. So you just got to be careful. You got to know if you have the right one at the right time. I didn't get married till I was a little bit older, right? I've been married for 14 years, but I'm 45 years old. So I didn't get married till after I really realized I was an entrepreneur and realized that I found the right one that has my back and that can handle me being me, which is not easy, right? So
I think it's probably easier than we think. I think a lot of us probably think that's hard for people to handle, like the true version of ourselves. But like she loves you for every part of you, and I mean that's what makes you guys work.
I think that is very, very hard to get.
Yeah.
So hard, it's not even funny. I think there's a lot of people in this world that say they got married, but they got married for all the wrong reasons, right? Like, oh, they had a kid or, finances, or they stay together because of these things, right? That's the wrong thing. There's so many people I speak to that are older, right? And I have a real confidential conversation with them and they are not in love with their wife, right? They hate their job. And I say, well, why do you stay together? Well, my kids are still in school. They're like, once they get out of school, then dude, you only live one life. Like, that's it. You live one life. Like,
you could die tomorrow.
You could die tomorrow, right? And you got to decide for yourself. But that's what holds people back, right? Is the ability to just figure out what makes you happy in this world and go after it. Because no matter what, I can't make anybody else happy unless I'm happy myself. So first you got to make yourself happy and then you can make other people happy. Like even your wife, if you're not happy, how are you going to make her happy? Right. So those are the things but it's finding, I don't even know how to say it, man. I'm so lucky that I found my calling, right, from getting out of high school with a fourth grade reading level and getting into business, but I don't call it business, right? I've loved what I've done since the beginning. So I found my calling. My calling was connecting with people. My calling was loving what I do every single day. Yeah, and when I mean loving what I do every single day, there's days that, of course, aren't sunshine and rainbows, but I love what I do. I love everything that I've done, from the car business to marketing and advertising. Listen, if I don't love what I do, I would quit tomorrow and do something else, right? Because life is short. I realize that.
What you do is an extension of yourself.
Yeah. And that is how you become more successful than anything, right? So let's walk down this road. I had a young gentleman that graduated college, and he comes to me and he says, I graduated college, but I'm an auto detailer. I detail cars, but I love doing it. I love detailing cars. I love it. But my parents, they're so upset with me because I got a college degree and I'm detailing cars, but I love what I do. And he's like, I just don't know what to do. And I said, well, I know what you need to do. And he goes, what's that, Roy? And I said, what time do you get up? He goes, I get up at 7 o'clock. I said, okay, get up at 6 or get up at 5 and start watching videos on auto detailing and start finding people that are better than you, that are what we call SMEs, subject matter experts in automotive detailing. There's money in automotive detailing. We know there is, right? There's people that pay insane money to do high-end cars, right? And I said, start watching them and start learning something new every single day. And when you find one that's successful, call him and ask him for advice, ask him for mentorship, because he's successful in something you want to be. I'm giving you advice, but I'm telling you, he's going to give you more advice because he's in your industry, right? And you're not his competition. He's on the other side. He could be on the other side of the world. He could be on the other side of even the state. He could be in a different state, right? And I said, so that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is you clean cars, you detail cars. So why don't you do this? Why don't you learn how to tint windows and go to school for tinting windows? And then when you're cleaning somebody's car and you see that they don't have tinted windows, say, hey, I can tint your windows. And by the way, I'm here right now, this second, so I can give it to you for less money, right? And then you can see that you could do something else. They need a pinstripe. Learn how to pinstripe. Say, would you like a pinstripe? Now you know how to pinstripe. Find out the ceramic coating. Learn how to do ceramic coating. Go to them and say, hey, I know I'm detailing your car, but did you know I could just come and have to wash it? I'll never have to wax it again because I could put this ceramic coat on there. And then you could do ceramic coating. So this is amazing, right? He actually listened to me. It's like sad to say, but it's like you talk to 100 and one does. But he really listened to me and he starts becoming successful, right? And then he comes to me, he goes, I've done all these things and I am making a lot more money. My parents are really happy. But how do I take it a step further? I said, the way you take it a step further is now you start an apprenticeship program. You figure out a way to train somebody else that is you, that wants to be in auto detailing, and bring them in. And you give them great money, but you don't give them all the money. You give them great money. And you train them and you teach them. And then you say, okay, now you get them to a point where they're going out, but they're giving you a piece of theirs. Not a lot, but a piece of theirs, because you've done all this and you help support them. And now you're getting a piece of theirs, right? And you're making money off of them, but they're becoming successful as well. And then he goes, wow, I never thought of that. And I'm like, yeah. And then he did it. And then boom, he's getting a piece of that. And he has a second set going out. And then he can keep to a third set and a fourth set, right? I mean, you can just keep going. But he was going to give up the thing that he loved to do every single day just to appease his parents, because he was doing it and not putting in what you call 110%. He was just doing it. If you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability. Do it to the best of your ability, right? Go the farthest, push it to the distance, and become an SME, become a subject matter expert. Be the best that you can be. And you should be, because you love what you do every single day and it's not a job. So that's the problem. If you're not doing that, you haven't found the right thing that's pushing you. So stop what you're doing and find something else. But when you find something that you enjoy doing and you realize I love doing it, time just flies by, right? And you constantly continue to improve yourself because you constantly want to know, right? And you become a subject matter expert in it. There's always, in this world, there's always somebody smarter than you. I hate to say it, but it's just the truth. So figure out how to connect with that person. I don't care where they are, who they are. Persistence pays off, right? Connect with that person. That's how I'm here right now sitting with you, is I connected with people, and I was great at connecting with people, right? And I found ways, but it's got to be mutually beneficial. When I mentor somebody nowadays, it's mutually beneficial because you're seeing them excel and you're leaving the world in a better place, right? And you're bringing somebody up. It's the greatest. It's so amazing to do that, right? But the person's gotta want it, right? There was a time when I wanted this guy to mentor me and he kept on telling me no, but I didn't want to stop, right? So finally he says, be at my house Sunday morning at 8 a.m. I think I told you this story. Sunday morning at 8 a.m. I pull up to his house. He's a multimillionaire and he's got 2 shovels in his hand. And he says, I finally got him to meet with me, but he's got 2 shovels. And he's like, we're going to dig a ditch from the front of the house to the back of the house. And if you remember, I told him we started digging the ditch. And he's talking to me, but he's digging it with me. Well, I don't care. We're digging a ditch. Next thing you know, my hands started breaking open. We're still digging the ditch, right? He fed me. We talked. It's almost dark, right? And we're got like 8 feet left. And I knew we weren't going to finish. And I said to him, listen, man, tomorrow I got to go in and sell cars, but I can come back earlier than I go into the dealership, be here a couple hours earlier, and I can finish this 8 feet for you. And he goes, dude, you want it? And I said, yeah, I want it. And hands are all busted up, but I wanted his expertise. I wanted his knowledge. And he was already giving it to me. I'm digging a ditch with him. I'm learning from him, right? I mean, he's literally emptying his glass. He's telling me stuff, but I wanted more and more of that. I earned for knowledge from especially smart people. And he looks at me and he goes, dude, we didn't need to dig a ditch. So you're the first person that's ever done this. He's like, I'm a multimillionaire. Why would I dig a ditch the entire day? I just wanted to see if you would do it. And you actually did it. But that showed him that I was willing to do anything. So it's always a test. Somebody can ask me to mentor them. Trust me, I'm going to figure out if they truly have what it takes, right? If they're truly going to put the time, effort, and consideration. And most people are full of shit. They're full of shit. Like, you're not, like, I will put you to the test. But if you got what it takes, I'll be more than happy to help you. To this day, that's part of the world, right? And that's the thing. It's that grit, determination. People have it. It's just it never comes out of them. We always say it best, right? Lions, not sheep, right? You're either a lion or you're sheep. You're either a sheep and go through the day and you just keep on going. And you say, oh, I'll do this tomorrow. I'll read this book tomorrow. I'll try to find a mentor tomorrow. And tomorrow is tomorrow. Or there's a lion that just goes after what he wants, right? It never stops. That's the difference. There's there's not many lions. There's a ton of sheep. Unfortunately, I feel like there's more sheep than ever in this world. That's sad to say, right?
And I think with that, I'd be curious what your thoughts are on this as well. Just because there's only so much of a motivator by being seeking after like the benefits or the things that we love to do and whatnot. There's a lot more power, I think, behind being motivated by pain as well in our life as well, that really pushes that needle forward. How much of your journey do you feel like was motivated by pain in those moments, like push you into starting your business, keep going forward to like keep on that right path? Or do you feel like it was more towards, I guess, just doing the things that you love and like the benefits of it, if that makes sense?
No, the pain, if we say pain builds resilience, right? Pain builds resilience. Resilience makes you not average. It makes you great. So dealing with pain and suffering, no matter what kind of pain and suffering is, mental, physical, is always going to make a greater person on the other side. It's just a fact. Definitely was with me. The more pain that you incur, right? Pain is something mentally or physically. Pain is something that reacts to, I say, definitely my brain, as it's a reaction of really understanding to learn, right? And what I mean by learn is hindsight is 2020. You can go through a pain, right? But you're never going to experience that exact pain again because you've learned from it. So if something really stings you, right, you're going to really react like, dude, you could get stung by a bee. The next time you see a bee,
But you know what it feels like.
you already know what it feels like and you don't want to get stung again. So you're going to avoid it, right? So you avoid things that have stung you. And we could be here for 3 days talking about things that have stung me just in the last 5 years, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, it's those types of things but yes, the things that do not kill you make you stronger. And I truly believe that the more pain and suffering that you go through and you come out the other side a better person, and you will come out a better person. And sometimes you always will, right? Unless you're unfortunately take the other road. But if you come out the other side, no matter what it is, you always are a better person. And you always learn from those things, just like addictions, right? Somebody has like some type of drug addiction, let's talk about like Jelly Roll, right? Look at everything that happened in his life and who he is now and the things that he does to help people and the man he became and the things that he does and the tries to give back and understands what somebody went through because he went through it, right? And tries to create a better world, but never judges those people, right? That's the biggest thing, right? Is figuring those types out. It's the biggest thing too, man. Why judge anybody, right? You're always critical of your own self. Why judge somebody else? We live in a fucking world that is shitty as hell. People judge each other all the time, right? They judge each other all the time. You want to bring up something like that? Let's bring it up, right? We just came back from where? Where did we just come back from?
Malaga.
And we just went to, who'd we see there?
Tons of people.
Who was this main speaker?
Erica
Kirk, right? And I posted a thing online of her talking about this is Charlie Kirk's Super Bowl, this gala, right? And the amount of negativity that got on that post is unimaginable. Listen, you don't even know these people. You don't know them, right? And people just run their mouths. And I promise you, they don't even know. They're just listening. They're sheep. They're not a subject matter expert to understand what happened and what's going on. I don't run my mouth and I don't write things. This is me, unless I understand them and I have the facts and I know it's true, right? So people do it all day long. I speak. If I'm mentoring somebody or if somebody asks me a question, I don't just think I have the answer. I say, I don't have the answer and I'll find it. Or if I do have the answer, I'll answer it. But if I don't have the answer, I don't just speak. And I sure don't give my opinion to something, right, that I shouldn't even give my opinion to. So I think that's the problem here, right, is people just, we need, in the number one thing, right, to business ownership, the number one thing to entrepreneurship, right, is silence the noise. If you really want to be successful, and I'm talking really successful in business, the one thing that you got to realize, right, is you can only control so many things in this world, right? I can control my business, my team, my family. I can't control the world. I can't control the president. I can't control politics. I can't control them. I may know about them, right? And I do know about them, but I can't control them. You need to worry about things that you can control, and you need to silence things that affect you and don't allow you to be great, right? The things that people think about and listen to and talk about, those things are not making you great. Those things are things that you can't control. You know what I worry about? I worry about my people, my business, my clients, my customers, my friends, my family. That's the things I can control, right? Those are the things within my circle. Those other things, yeah, I need to know, or you may want to know what's going on, or you may not want to know. But negativity is not going to make you successful. Letting negativity in to your life is not going to make you successful. If you want to be truly successful, you got to have a mindset of crushing the day every single day, because it's not easy. The world is not an easy place. God didn't make it easy for us on purpose. He wants us to get over hurdles. He wants us to get to the other side, but he's going to give us these hurdles to go through. And that's the most important thing, is figuring out the things that you can control and the people you can affect and the things that you can do, and push the other out. And I think that is so important in entrepreneurship and business owner. The hardest job, and we talked about this, right? The hardest job is a sales job. I think the second hardest job, well, let's talk about a couple more. Let's say an EMT, right? Or let's say a news anchor. You want to talk about a hard job? Being a news anchor is such an unbelievably hard job, right? Because they're reporting on something, they could be reporting on something that is absolutely horrifying. We just had some mass shootings that just happened, that inside it's personally affecting them, and they can keep their composure on TV, right? Or on the radio. They can keep and report the news and deal with the effects afterwards. You're younger, but I'll never, in this entire existence of my life, I'll never forget where I was at when 9/11 happened. And I'll never forget people's faces when I looked at their faces and we were getting attacked, and the humbleness of every single person, right? I'll never, ever forget where I was at, right? And I'm great. I truly believe I'm a great salesperson and I'm really good at business, but I don't know if I could have ever watched our country get attacked and people dying and be able to report on that and keep my composure, right? Those people that were reporting on it that day on the news and kept their composure and kept everything, that's heroes, right? But that is 90% of sales, is you have to turn off everything that's personally going on in your life, especially if it's negative, and you got to walk. Like, I walked in the dealership and I was in a good mood. Even if I wasn't, I had to completely change and become that chameleon so that I could do my job, right? And I could because every day is not that day. Every day is not that day. And people that are in sales are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But you have to do your job. So it gives you, when you're in sales and you go into entrepreneurship, you got that. You've already beaten that hurdle. And you've already beaten the hurdle of getting knocked down tons of times. Like, you have to get resilient to having somebody say no so many times to you that it doesn't affect you. Right. And I think that was the greatest thing about being in the car business, right? Is I have a customer and the customer is trying to get the best deal they could. So they're struggling with me. And then I walk up to the desk to my manager, and my manager's saying, "Man, you're too weak. Go back and get more. Like, we can't even sell them the car unless you get them up to this much monthly payment." Right. So you're the middleman, but you learn from that, and you're constantly being able to adapt to the environment, and you get strong. That's why when you're in sales, man, you can always know it's the number one job, right? It's the best job. It's the best job, because if you can sell anything, right? And you always know that there's going to be somebody, right? There's going to be somebody. It's not, and a lot of times it's, no, I'm not buying now. Like, no, I'm not buying in this, just not right now. Like me, I was super persistent in going after somebody. I said, well, they're eventually going to have a meeting with me. They're eventually going to buy, it's those types of things. And we look at, I guess we said this too, right? Wouldn't it be amazing if we had the technology that we have today back when I was 18 years old, right? I can't even tell you where I would even be at, right? Because the amount of people I've met since I was 18 years old till now, if I had the technology I had today and I was able to keep every single person that I met since I was 18 years old till now, which is so many people, and I had them in my digital Rolodex and I stayed in contact with them, who knows? I could have even met, I'm not even joking, like Donald Trump back in the day. You don't even know where these people ended up going. And if you truly stay connected with them, right? That's the biggest thing is your connections. Who you stay connected with, your digital Rolodex, right? Your contacts. That's a lot of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, let me tell you what, you still got to know what you need to know, but a lot of it is who you know, right? You would say that as well. And you're young. You've learned that, right? Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, and you're going to learn it. So if you got to learn it, and you want to learn it, you'll learn it. So
I think it's fun too, as you obviously, as you probably went through and figured out, and I'm figuring it out as well, is once you go through and build up that Rolodex and you're really focused in on something that you're working on, or really just like who you are, then they're even better able to help you do whatever you need to do from there. And then that's like when it's the real big difference maker, when you're keeping up in contact with them throughout the years and adding value to them in whatever way you can. Not in the ways that you'd probably think, but just like even just sending what we were talking about earlier, sending like a birthday text or whatnot, just like making sure people feel seen, because not everyone has those people that you're talking about earlier that you can count on the hand in their own life. And just like additionally, like we were talking earlier, the entrepreneurial journey is lonely. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people who are trying to go from rep to owner, just entrepreneurs in general, are seeking for like love and connection, whether that's like a romantic connection or even just like friends in general. And just knowing, I think just like what we're talking about, that it's okay as you're going along throughout that journey, like building out that Rolodex, that those people like will just come into your life that you can like count on your hand, whether that's your wife and whatnot. And those come from the Rolodex and connections. And it's fun. I mean, in today's day and age, with all the technology and everything coming into place, my generation and really just like everyone's never been more enabled to do huge things. So it's a lot of fun. But for you, if you were to go back and just tell yourself, 12-year-old Roy, just like one thing that you wish you would have known, like growing up, because I think a lot of us, whether we think about it a lot or not, like we are largely like who we were growing up. And if there was one thing that you were to go back and just tell yourself at 12 years old, like what do you feel like that would have been
for work?
Just in general.
I would split it up, right? I think for work,
this is like 12-year-old Roy, just like the person you were, and like the journey you were about to like embark on for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I would say, live, man. That's the great thing, man, is I everything that I've done, bad or good, I've learned from. I don't think I would change anything, right? I would just say be along for the ride.
Yeah.
Be along for the ride. Like just like enjoy every single bit of it, right? I would just say to myself, like, you're gonna have an incredible journey. You really are. And you're gonna change people's lives and you're gonna do amazing things. But you're gonna have a lot of ups and downs, right? That would be it. Yeah.
The journey's been a wild one.
It has, and it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. So,
and to wrap it up, what does the next few years look like for you? Like, what are you hoping to achieve within that time frame?
I think it's a couple things. I think one of the biggest things, right, is, how do I say it? So this year I lost my mom, right, which is a significant part of my life in a way that you never realize how significant it is until the person's gone. Like I don't think I could have said like you can count on your hands to 5 people, because when I lost her, I lost one that I'll never replace, right? I'll never, ever replace. And then it was even harder this year because I lost my second mom, my best friend's mom. She died this year as well. She just passed away. And the feeling that you have within you, the horrible feeling, no matter what, from my mom, I had a lot of regret because I'm an entrepreneur. I work a lot, right? I work a lot. I spend a lot of time doing things, and you're like, man, when they're gone, right? And I'm like, why is God putting me through so much pain? And the only way I could explain it was you're put through pain so that you can help the next person deal. So the pain that I'm going through, especially mentally from it, the way that it is maybe, well, not maybe, I know I'll meet somebody that is dealing with the same thing and I'm going to be able to help them more, right? Because I feel like things happen in life in a way that if we can talk about the things that happen, see, that's a superpower itself. Just being able to learn to be able to talk about things that are so hard, right? That most people can't even get out of their mouth. But I realized, one, you got to be able to talk about it, but two, the knowledge of the pain that you'll be able to provide somebody else, right? To help them heal, right? To help them go, to help them get through the significant hard time, like the hardest time in my life. Because if I didn't have my wife this year, oh my gosh, I don't even know where I'd be, right? Because it's like, it's that. So I think as things happen within our life, you grow into a different person, right? You grow into a person like me. I've accomplished great things and I want to accomplish more things. But I think some of the things that allow me to help people, right, and allow me to provide knowledge to the next generation and leave this world a better place are so valuable. And that sometimes for me is so much greater and so much more of success than building a business, right? At the end of the day, it's a business, right? You got to realize there's only so much that you need. There's only so much you need. Alex Hormozi said it this year. He's like, I made so much money, and he has. And he's been so successful that he's finally looking at his life in a different way. Like he's accomplished, like, what was it? His book launch, right?
Over 100 billion.
I mean, it was insane, right? But he's looking, that's what I say, it changes you. He looks at it and he's like, I'm not focused on the same things. Different things drive you at different points in times. And that's where I want to say to people, it's so okay for so many people have so many different lines of success. Lines of success could be you going off on a mission and helping people. And that could be the most successful thing. Or you could become a multi-million-dollar CEO and that's what they think is successful. It's what you figure out inside you that makes success, right? What matters to you is the most important thing. Don't worry about what society thinks is success, right? That doesn't mean shit. What matters is what you feel is success. My success is privy to helping and seeing other people achieve success. I think I get more gratification out of building. I want to build new things and I'm building new things, but I want to see people, especially younger people, I want to see them reach levels of success, right? And of that nature through somebody that is successful and cautioning them not to get stung by that bee, right? Like, and sometimes they got to get stung by it, right? But sometimes they don't because somebody else is there to help them. I think we brought this up, I'm opening a podcast studio, a very unique podcast studio. But you say, what got me into podcasting, right? What drove me there? And this is really interesting. At the beginning of this year, I went to a thing called Podfest Expo. It's in Orlando. It's the largest actual podcaster convention. And I go there and I meet a young 7-year-old girl that podcasts because she has a disease. 7 years old. She's podcasting, talking about how she handles the pain of this disease she has. Then I meet a guy that's blind that podcasts to help people that are blind or have become blind. Then I meet this unbelievable woman that I sit and I talk to, and she helps women that are in domestic violence situations and she helps get them out. And she'll sell her car to help somebody get out of it, to like help that person, right? And then I met a lady that her sister died from a brain tumor. This was the first time in my entire life that I went to a convention. I call it a convention, conference, whatever you want to call, with hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe thousands, right? I think there was like 1,700 people there. And I didn't meet one fucking asshole. Like, I'm not authentic, real people. I realized the number one thing that I want in life is meeting authentic, real people, right? Like, I don't want to go to a networking event and I meet somebody that's authentic and real. The next person is full of shit, right? The next person is authentic or real, and the next person is full of shit. And unfortunately, that seems to be the way stuff is nowadays, right? So the more I can surround myself with good, authentic, real people, the better. And I feel like the podcasting world is that. And I know that it's going to grow, right? And I know it's a way for people to get their superpower out, right? Like, superpower is talking about knowledge and things that they know and providing that information to other people.
To help them.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing how we didn't understand podcasting before, right? I mean, it's so crazy now with AI. Like, you could be trying to find an answer for something and just ask AI what podcast they need to listen to, and it tells you, right? Like, go find this one. I mean, boom. And then you're hearing it, right? And just to be straightforward, not many people are going to put something out there on a podcast that is not true, right? Like, they're dumb if they do. Like, you're sending it out to the world. So I feel like you're meeting more really amazing people than you could anywhere else, you know? And we earn for human to human connection. We earn for the ability to talk to other people and grow. I just think it's 3D printing, additive manufacturing is such an absolute exciting time. I mean, I knew it was going to change the world, and it's changing the world. I've been in it for 10 years. I've been open 10 years. I mean, what's the statistics on that? You know, most businesses fail after the first year, after the first 5 years. I don't think I've ever had more calls. Do I want to sell my business? Do I want to sell my business? Hey, we buy businesses. Do you want to sell your business? I had like 5 this week, and I'm like, no, I actually love what I do. I don't want to sell my business. Like, I don't want to sell it, right? There's been times that I thought about selling it, but right now I'm happy. I love my team. I love the energy. I love where the industry is figuring itself out. We've had a lot of hurdles, a lot of ups and downs in 3D printing, but it's growing. So yeah, I think it's great.
I'm excited to be a witness on everything that's coming forward. And yeah, I think everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And super grateful that you got to spend the time with us here today. And I think there's a lot of value provided to the audience, and I think you're going to impact a lot of people's lives. So a lot of gratitude to you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, man.
It's fun. It's only the beginning.
It is. That's the thing, man. You wake up every day and it's a new day, right? And especially when you're in industries that are very disruptive, right? You never know what's going to happen the next day. And we're definitely in a very unique time with AI and 3D printing and podcasting and everything that's going on and robots. I mean, we're in a time that is definitely, you got to be a life student. You got to continue to learn every single day, because if not, you're going to get wiped out, right? There's too much new stuff coming. So it's exciting.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Roy.
Yeah.
And thank you to all of you as well, listening today to Rep2Owner. If you are looking to transition from sales to starting a business and don't want to get stung as by the bees, so to say, or avoid as many as possible, because obviously you'll get stung, please go to Rep2Owner.com, look at the programs, prep to launch to help get you ready to make that step forward. So thank you again, Roy.
Absolutely.
God bless.